Welcome back to this explainer as we continue our journey into the deep unknown. Now, part one completely shocked us with what lies right beneath our feet. But today is the most fascinating chapter yet. We're going to be separating documented reality from massive internet myths. We are going to look at actual, real-world underground facilities whose existence is an established fact, and then trace exactly how those very real places gave birth to mysteries and legends that people are still fiercely debating today. But keep one absolutely critical thing in mind. In this story, there are two distinct realities at play, and we have to be really, really careful not to mix them up. Okay, let's dive into this. At the core of our analysis today is the clash of two very different worlds. World one, well, that's the realm of history and undeniable proof. World two is the realm of rumors, eyewitness testimonies, and wild conspiracy theories. Our goal today is to bridge the gap between these two worlds. We want to understand how verifiable facts evolved into widespread rumors, and we'll use the source material to carefully untangle what is documented historical truth from what is, frankly, completely unproven speculation. All right, part one, the Cold War reality, building in the shadows. To understand how any of this started, we have to rewind a bit to the 1960s. The tension between the United States and the Soviet Union was at its absolute peak during the Cold War. I mean, every single day, this heavy existential dread forced the government to take drastic measures, literally hollowing out mountains to create places like the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and Mount Weather. And none of what was built inside is science fiction, by the way. These documented, heavily fortified underground command centers featured massive steel doors, intricate communication arrays, and totally self-sufficient power and water systems. They had fully equipped medical units and specialized crisis operation rooms. These weren't just your standard backyard bomb shelters. They were highly advanced, self-sustaining complexes built so that the absolutely most critical decisions for the country's survival could be made from deep within the earth. But as the years passed, the existence of these massive bunkers just couldn't stay a total secret forever. Slowly, government documents were declassified. A few photographs trickled out into the public eye. And people began to realize, wow, the United States truly constructed these massive secure complexes inside mountains. But that revelation, it birthed a massive wave of internet speculation. People looked at the unclassified documents and naturally asked a really lingering question. If the government really built all of this, is that it? Or is the story we've been told totally incomplete? Which brings us to part two, the birth of the underground myths. Man, that lingering question just ignited a firestorm. Former employees, authors, and thousands of internet sleuths started combing through the data, arguing that the public was really only seeing a tiny fraction of the truth. They claimed there were hidden, highly classified, and entirely unacknowledged sections of these complexes. The internet was soon flooded with theories of secretive, interconnected tunnel networks featuring special, high-speed underground trains spanning thousands of kilometers. And then, the claims went even further, alleging these deep levels housed laboratories working on hidden advanced technology, with some even drawing connections to extraterrestrial life. Now, as an explainer of the source material, I must state this impartially and clearly. To this day, experts consider these entirely unproven. There is absolutely no decisive public evidence to support these claims, making them popular conspiracy theories rather than established facts. But setting those rumors aside for a second, let's ask a very real, very practical question. What is the safest place in the world? If you asked a random person on the street, they might say the White House, or perhaps some heavily fortified military headquarters. But according to security experts who analyze U.S. emergency protocols, if a massive national crisis were to strike, the true command center isn't sitting on top of the ground. The absolute safest place, the real seat of power during an apocalypse, operates deep beneath the surface of the earth. To truly grasp this, I want you to imagine a sensory thought experiment based on the declassified descriptions. Imagine you're standing in a heavily guarded elevator. The doors close, and you begin your descent. You drop 10 meters, then 50 meters, then 100 meters straight underground. Finally, the elevator stops and the doors open. Before you is a sprawling, self-sustaining complex. You see long corridors lined with heavy security doors. Behind the walls are massive server rooms, just humming with data. You walk past a fully staffed medical unit on one side, extensive food storage on the other, and further down, actual living quarters. It is a completely isolated ecosystem, buried right deep in the bedrock. Now, because these facilities contained things like living quarters and cafeterias, the moment the public learned about them, a very specific term caught on. People started calling them underground cities. But actually, scratch that. It's a major misconception. The sole purpose of these sprawling complexes was military and government operational continuity. They were strictly for crisis management. They were never designed or intended to be civilian housing or sprawling subterranean towns for the general public. And this brilliantly illustrates the psychology of why these myths exist and thrive. When a space is highly classified, we're left with incomplete public information. Add to that a few isolated clues, a blurry leaked photograph, an old document with redacted lines, a viral video of a closed steel door, and what happens? The human brain naturally steps in to invent the rest of the story. When we don't have all the facts, it's like a giant puzzle, and our imagination fills in the blanks, turning a military communications bunker into a secret subterranean metropolis holding alien technology. Moving on to Part 3, Continuity of Government, the Ultimate Protocol. If we strip away the psychological myths, we're left with a reality that is arguably much, much more chilling. I mean, why was such massive, expensive, and secretive construction necessary in the first place? The answer basically comes down to one number: 3. I want that number to sink in for a moment. 3 minutes. During the height of Cold War tensions, that was the estimated warning time of an incoming nuclear missile strike. Just 3 minutes for a missile to travel thousands of kilometers and permanently alter the world. Ask yourself, how could a country, a president, a military apparatus possibly react in that incredibly brief window of time? Well, that horrifying 3-minute window is exactly what drove the creation of Continuity of Government, or COG. These are emergency protocols designed to ensure that the government and military command absolutely do not shut down. Even if Washington, D.C. fell, even if the entire national power grid was wiped out, even if all standard communications just vanished, these underground bunkers were the ultimate fail-safe. They were designed to ensure the survival and continuous operation of the nation's leadership. Put yourself inside that failsafe the moment the sirens sound. The heavy steel doors seal shut, locking out the devastating reality on the surface. Inside, the clocks are ticking. Despite being totally cut off from the outside world, computer and radio networks remain intensely active. Generators roar to life, providing continuous power. Security teams are constantly monitoring every sector. It is an intense, isolated, yet highly functional reality, where the surviving government operates with ruthless efficiency, entirely sealed within a mountain. So, where does that leave us today? Well, according to public information, emergency government and military facilities absolutely still exist. However, their current capabilities, their exact internal layouts, and their day-to-day operations remain heavily classified for national security reasons. We know they're there, but the modern specifics are locked away. And naturally, that veil of classification is exactly what keeps the modern mystery alive and thriving on the internet today. So, the crucial point is, as we wrap up our analysis today, we can clearly separate historical reality from internet conspiracies. On the factual side, America definitely built real underground facilities with strict national security purposes, specifically tied to government continuity. On the fiction side, secret alien labs, massive underground train networks spanning thousands of kilometers, and hidden civilian cities. There is no decisive public proof for these claims. They remain fascinating theories, for sure, but not documented facts. Which leaves us with one final lingering thought. If the grandest internet theories about sprawling underground cities and alien labs aren't true, does that mean there are no secrets left? Or are the biggest, most world-altering secrets simply hiding in plain sight, still buried deep within classified documents that the public has yet to see? Could a future disclosure completely change how we view history? We're going to dive into the ultimate answers to these unsolved mysteries in the final chapter of our explainer, Part 3. You really won't want to miss it.